Changing your dog's response to getting ready for an outing.
The first exercise is creating a different association with the gear that you walk your dog on. Now, for some dogs, it makes them excited to see their gear, overexcited, and for other dogs, they can have a fearful response because they don't want to go outside, or the harness, or collar they're scared to put on, which we'll go over in putting on the gear. But you can change that emotional response to the harness or your gear by changing what it means. So instead of this meaning going out the door, which for some dogs means, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, so they see the harness, they get overexcited already, which sets you up to fail. For dogs that are scared to be outside, maybe you've rescued a dog that's not used to the city, seeing the gear is going to make them stressed already and also set you up to fail. So for excitable dogs, I suggest that you pair this gear with calm behavior. So during your training sessions, you have an excitable dog, you're going to be working on some calm stuff like a settle where your dog's laying down and relaxing, or some handling. So you get out your leash and harness, you put it on your dog, which is very unnecessary, and then you work on the calm stuff. So here Splash is doing a nice settle, I can pet her, maybe do a chin rest, and feed her a treat. If you have a dog that's very unfocused on you as well, you can start to play attention games with the leash and harness. So 3 times a day, you get out the leash and harness, you put it on your dog, you work on leash walking in the house and attention. And then your dog's not going to be so associating this with goodbye, I want to pull ahead and leave you in the dust. So I'm just going to work on a basic fun attention game where I'm going to click her offering eye contact and then toss a treat. Woo! Where is it? There. Yes! Get it! Woo! Yes! Get it! Woo! So you don't have to say yes, get it. You can just click and toss the treat. But that's something that I like to do. If your dog doesn't think to offer looking at you, you can use an attention noise or your dog's name, or just simply make a little noise to get your dog to look up at you, and then see if your dog might offer it after playing the game by asking for the attention first. So ask a couple of times, and then see if your dog might offer it. Yes, good girl. Yeah, woo. Good job. Woo. Another game that you can play with dogs that are overexcited about going on their walk is that you put on their leash, their gear, and then just outside your front door, you practice a settle. So that's what we're going to do here with Splash. Are you ready? Splash for me. Good girl. Awesome. Sit. Wait. Let's go. Good girl. Good. Good job. Let's go. Now we're going back inside.
Putting on the gear.
The next exercise is teaching putting the gear on as a behavior. So if your dog gets overexcited about the gear, suddenly it's a behavior that you've worked on using food. So the motivation's different. It's not going out the door, it's how do I get that treat? Okay, so if you don't want to use luring, you can use a hand target. So you hold out the gear and ask your dog to touch your target through the gear. So at first you're just getting them to touch it in a very simple way, so just their nose is going in, to touch your fingers. Good job. Then as your dog gets better, touch, you ask them to touch further and further away, and I suggest not using a clicker unless you have help, because you don't want to be clicking too near your dog's ears and it's a little tricky, so you can use a marker word. Ready? Splash, touch? Yes. Good job. And just in approximations, touch, you work on the whole behavior. Good job. Now she did that sitting. I would like, when I hold out her collar, that she just sticks her head through. So I'm going to throw a treat behind her. Go get it. Ready? Touch. Good job. Awesome. And what I'm doing is I'm getting her up and about so that she thinks to walk forwards into the collar. Ready? Touch! With some speed. Awesome. And the same with the harness. If you don't mind using luring, you can throw a treat and then lure your dog's head through the equipment. If your dog is funny about being touched with the equipment, you can work on simply touching your dog, yep, and feeding a treat. Also, if your dog mouths the equipment as you put the equipment onto your dog, you can practice simply moving the equipment about, yep, and marking for your dog, ignoring it. Yep, good job. If your dog does bite the equipment, then move it further away and less fast. You can practice moving really slow and just touching your dog. Then when you do put the equipment on, you want to make sure that you do have treats so that you can change your dog's motivation of wanting to eat the harness or the collar and focus on the food, so this doesn't become a habit of just grab and bite the equipment. So, my terrier here has an aversion to putting on his harness, don't you? So we have worked on it and he was doing awesome, but now he's regressed to not liking it so much. And I'm going to be horrible and show you what it looks like when he doesn't like it. So, you know, I put the harness on and you can see he's poor guy. He's lowering his head and looks really, really agonized and unhappy. Poor guy. So we're going to brush up our manners and teach him to be confident and happy and calm when his gear is being put on. So if you have a dog like this, you can walk the dog in the gear that the dog doesn't really like, and then train a new harness or whatever you use on the side. So just in training sessions, this thing is being associated, and then after 2 weeks, or whenever your dog is just loving this game of putting his head in the harness, then you can start using the new one and get rid of the other one. Who cares? But one thing to keep in mind is just search around for different shapes of harness and try to imagine which your dog likes better. So for Tug, the thing he hated was, you know, his ears getting smushed because the hole of this neck is very small and this hole is much bigger. So as I put the harness on, I know that this one is going to be much better for him than this one. Are you ready, Tug? Touch? Yes, good boy. Also, if your dog isn't extremely, extremely intelligent, the new harness they're not going to have the negative association with, and they might not even know that it's something that they wear. So you don't begin the game by putting the harness on. Touch, you begin the game as a fun game in your training area, not near the door. Touch, yes, good job. Go get it. Touch, yeah, good girl. Girl, boy. Touch, yes, good boy. Oh my goodness. Touch, good boy. Ready, go get it. So you can see he's played this game before. Go get it. Awesome. Yes, good boy. Good job. Dogs also don't like the harness coming off. So once you put it on, yes, you can mark the harness coming over and whacking them in the ears. Go get it. Like when you're at the hairdresser and the person combs your ears. It doesn't feel good and it can be make you annoyed or feel miserable, like tug here. So you can have a verbal cue. I just have holding out the harness as the cue to put it on. Want to go for a walk? Good boy. And then I'm going to lift his paw in. Good job. Awesome. Oh, and you see there, he also didn't like that. His body got a little stiff, so I'm going to do this. Yes! And then feed a treat. Yes! Good boy! Yes! And mark. Good job. Another cute trick is getting the dog to fetch the harness if he doesn't like it. Good job. Hold it it out, have him put his head through. Good job. And another trick with little dogs is having them up on a platform to have their harness put on. So you cue them to jump up onto the platform and then put the harness on. Because a lot of people, they run after their little dog and the little dog runs away. Leave it. Good girl. Okay, get it.
Waiting politely at the door.
So Splash, my border collie, she's a very calm, well-behaved dog. She walks really nicely on leash. She doesn't get excited when I get ready to go for a walk, and she puts her harness on very nicely. But there's one thing she does, which is when I get to the door and I ask her to wait, and then I open the door, she just walks right through. Because usually I don't ask her to wait. But there are some circumstances where I would like to ask her to wait, especially if I have other dogs with me, like my small chihuahuas. So, okay, are you ready, Splash? Want to go for a walk? There you go. So let's just see if she does the behavior that I'm talking about. So we get to the door, I say wait, and then I open the door, and she just goes through, and she's like, whatever. So, ready? Let's play a game. So I'm just going to say wait, click treat, and then release her. My release to a door is okay, because that's my release to do a calm behavior. So walking slowly forwards, right? You could use the cue, let's go, if you wanted. Wait. And I'm also going to click and treat her multiple times for staying still as I go to open the door. Good job. Awesome, good girl. Wait. Good girl. Okay. Go through. Awesome. Good girl. Let's go back inside. Awesome. Good girl. Splash, you want to go for a walk? Good girl. Let's go. Wait.